All right, I'm going to go over creating scatter plots with the use of GeoGebra. There's a lot of neat things we can do here. All right, so let's go to it. So here is my, by the way, I go to the graphing calculator for this one. And so here's what I have set up here. And I'm going to go back and forth from coding and then press the button, the shortcut buttons. So there's a lot of coding involved in this too. So I have this little chart here, this guy named Baxter, and it's showing hours worked and the number of text messages. So if you look at hours worked when it's just he only worked 1 hour, he texted a lot. And then when he worked 5 hours or 4 hours, he didn't do as much texting, which makes sense, right? The less time you're texting, more time you're working, and vice versa. Okay, so I'm going to do a scatter plot to show the relationship between yard work and text messages, if there is a relationship. So I'm going to plot my points on the scatter plot first. I'm going to do this using code. And since I already used A and B to paste this chart here, I'll start off with C. So my first point will be point C. So I'm just going to write in capital C. I'll put in equals, and then I'll open up a bracket. And this is where I put my X and Y points. So my first X is 1, comma, and I write my ordered pair, 50. And it already has the closed bracket for you. I press enter. Now, it's there. I mean, I could zoom out here, and eventually you'll see it. You can see it there. I'll fix all that in a bit. But let's just continue writing in first all the points, and then I'll kind of show you how to easily see all your points and moving around all your axis points and your intervals, and the program does everything for you. So my second point is D, even though it's the second one we're starting because of we're just going through the alphabet here. D equals bracket. So I got my first X point is 3 and comma 35. And I press enter. My first one, I'll label it E, equals 5. Oh, I didn't put the bracket. You want to open up the bracket. 5, comma 20, and I'll continue on. Okay, so I just finished all of my points here. So I'm just going to show you how to quickly tell GeoGebra to show just all of the points and codes that you put in and maximize your workspace. So I don't need this anymore. So this is a neat feature here. If I click on the tools, instead of coding, I could just use all of these tools here. So I'm just going to move this over, and I'm going to get rid of this table here. Now, to zoom in on your area where all your points are, all I'm going to do is right click, and I'm going to go to zoom to fit. And it's going to show me now where all my points are, and it adjusts your x-axis scale and your y-axis scale. I'm going to move my head up here. Now I just also zoom out, so it just, I don't know, I find it fits better. So there's all my points. All right, so I got my scatter plot here, and from this I could see that there is a correlation. It's a negative correlation, and from what I can tell, it is fairly strong. But I do want to create the line of best fit, which will help me better understand the strength of the correlation. It's very easy to do that in GeoGebra, and I found that a lot of different sites that do scatter plots, and there's lots out there, they don't do the best line of best fit for you, which is very easy here. So there's a little button, and I'm going to show you the code as well if you prefer to do it that way. The button, it just gives you the description here what you have to do. So I'm going to select several points, and then it'll give me the line of best fit. So here's all the points here. Take it off, and ta-da, there you go. There's your line of best fit. Okay, now if I were to go over here to the code, it gives you the code here if you prefer to type it in. So function fit line, well, that's the best of line of best fit. And then using these brackets, you just type in the letters, the points that you have here into your brackets, and it will give you the line of best fit. This here is your y equals mx plus b equation. This is your linear function equation. We're going to get to that when we get into algebra. We don't need to know that right now. So that's line of best fit. And what's neat about GeoGebra is you can kind of manipulate the line of best fit to see what happens, or manipulate the points. So for example, let's say I want to move point E, and check it out. It just shifts the line of best fit for you. So you can kind of analyze what happens when you have an outlier, okay? An outlier that's just all the way up here. Let's undo that. Okay, well, let's get the line of best fit back. Okay, so a couple of the features. One very important feature when doing scatter plots. I mean, we could say by looking at these lines, the strength of the correlation with the line of best fit, we can see the strength of the correlation. But there's something called a correlation coefficient that actually gives us a value for the strength of the correlation. It tells you how closely related these dots are. And so you're not just predicting the correlation or describing the strength of it, you can actually get a value. Now over here, there's no quick little button that will tell you, but there is a code that you can type in here for correlation coefficient. In fact, all you have to do is start typing it in, correlation, and it will give you the code. And then here, I just list my points that I have here, or the same points that I have here in my line of best fit. So I'm just going to type in C, D, E, F, G, H. And there you have it. I'll press enter, and I have this long value. Now, just like on your calculator, you can get a number of place values, but I'm just going to take a look at the two numbers after the decimal to the hundredths column, 0.92. Okay, well, first of all, it's a negative because I have a negative correlation. It's going down. The closer your number is to 1, 1 is a perfect correlation. The closer your number is to 1, the stronger your correlation is. That's what the correlation coefficient tells you. 0.92, you could think of it as a percentage. That's 92%. Of accuracy, or 92% of how strong this correlation is. That's really good. Well, let's for instance move one of these points. Let's move H, let's move D, let's move G, E over here. Now go over here and take a look at your correlation coefficient. I didn't change anything. It's the same same plots, but look at it now. 0.198, well, that's 0.20, that's 20%, or that's very weak. That's a weak correlation, and you can see that the numbers are all scattered. Okay, so that's the correlation coefficient, another neat value or neat piece of GeoGebra. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Creating scatter plots, creating the line of best fit, analyzing the correlation coefficient. So let's just now beautify my graph. So there's a couple little things you can do here. You can add your axis points. So I'm going to draw a label down here for my x-axis. Oh, hang on a second. I kind of forgot what this data was about. Let me go check that chart. All right, so it's yard work and text messages. I kind of forgot that. So I'm going to type in yard work, and it's important to have the units, hours. Let's make it bold. Okay. All right, so there we go. And I can right click on settings. Let's move my head down here. And I can change the size if I wanted to. You can change the color if you wanted to, and all that stuff that you can normally do. So there's that. Okay, I'm just going to pause it and do the other labels, so I'm not just wasting your time here. Okay, so I just wrote down a couple labels here. Let me move these around here. And I'm going to zoom out just so that I could see my x-axis line here and the y-axis. And I will move the title up here. And there's my axis points. And if you want, I could, because most people prefer this outside of the axis lines. So there you have it. Now, because my line of best fit is so important, I can also change the color here. I can change the thickness of it, the type of line. Oh, I don't want that. Let's change the color. I don't know, red, like the title, and let's make it Sure, let's make it a bit thicker. Okay. So there you go. There's my line of best fit, labeling, all that stuff. Anyway, that's it. This is GeoGebra. You could also, by the way, do this in GeoGebra Classic. But I like this one because you can manipulate that line of best fit. You can move around outliers and values and see what happens. Whereas the GeoGebra Classic, once you put in your data, the graph is fixed. But it still does give you the correlation coefficient, line of best fit and all that, but it's fixed and you can't kind of analyze data as much as this one does. Okay, that's it.